Welcome to another Coffee with Samso. We're doing this from a distance today. I'm at the Mill Point Cafe bookshop talking to James from Andromeda. Obviously, James, we've had a few of these conversations already, and Andromeda's going into mining Kaolinite / halloysite. James, I think that the latest news now, I guess, going into is your release of your PFS. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, thanks. Good afternoon, Noel, and thanks for having me back again. So the PFS was released on Monday this week. So that was another major milestone for Andromeda Metals. Very pleasing PFS, as we said, that we're happy with how it's worked out. The numbers have improved again from the post-scoping study, and then the scoping study upgrade, and now to the PFS. It's been a steady stage of improvement, and also a steady stage of improvement in confidence level as well. So now the PFS milestone has been reached, our confidence is much higher, and we're looking forward now to moving as quickly as we can through to the DFA stage towards the end of the year. So I suppose the main features of the PFS that we've just put out are certainly a whole lot of improved economics in the project. And the first one to probably mention is the mine life has now improved and increased to about 26 years, which of course the life of mine cash flow has increased in proportion to that. So it means we're almost up to about $2 billion now, which is a very interesting number. What we also did, we've added a drying process to the production plant. Now that has added a bit of capex to be funded from the cash flow. However, that's what's been responsible for a lot of the increase in the actual money coming in, because we've reduced the handling and the logistics costs by a considerable amount. So it means that the NPV is now leapt up to over 700 million. And along with that, we've done a lot more work on the process design, on the metallurgy, on the mine design. So advanced in a whole number of different ways. We still have the wet plant there, so it's still the wet plant as we concluded from the improved scoping study. But as we go forward now, from the pre-feasibility study to the DFS, a crucial stage of the project has started, which is the permitting and the approval section. So one thing we did amend in the PFS was the timeline for the project. So we've added on about 3 to 6 months, so not a great deal in the scheme of things, but an extra 3 to 6 months just to give us a bit of a cushion on the approval permitting process. There's no other reason for that but for the permitting. There's no doubt that there has been some slippage caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. And so to be absolutely confident and also take the conservative approach in the timing, we decided to add on that 3 to 6 months just to make sure that we have that covered. Now it is possible that the government is really quite keen to stimulate the economy now, the South Australian government, and it may be that the process is streamlined as we go forward. We're not quite sure yet, but just in case that time is added on, just in case we do need that. But the approval process is now starting in earnest, and we have got our new project manager involved, who is very accustomed and experienced in mining approvals in South Australia. So we've got someone who can take control of that schedule, own the schedule, and drive it forward in the shortest possible time. But otherwise, the main business model is very similar there. So it's a DSO stage to start with, which is we're not selling that DSO. We are shipping it ourselves. We're toll refining that. So we're paying for that toll refining. We retain ownership right through the whole process. Once it's toll refined, we then have a market-ready product, a premium-grade product, which is ready to be sold into the world market. So whilst we were in the scoping study really quite focused on China, because that's where the immediate opportunity was for sales, we've now expanded that. And as we move forward over the next few months, we are diversifying that. So we're looking at the whole world market. So trying to minimize any risk that may be attached. We're just being focused on China. we've already got interest from a large number of other Asian countries, as well as the Middle East and Europe. So a lot of market interest there. And so samples now will be going out to those areas. And a crucial stage of that process is our large-scale processing production trials, which are, well, one has just been completed this week, in fact, in Japan. So we now have several tons of material in Japan. And this is, the important thing here is it's commercially representative premium grade material. So when customers now are potential customers, the next stage for them is to do application testing at the commercial scale. So they want enough material, and it may be half a ton, it may be 1 ton, to put through their processing plant. They will then make a full-scale batch of whatever their application is, whether it's a porcelain item. Then that porcelain item will be tested thoroughly, but it will then also be sent to their downstream customers for approval. So it does take a little bit of time to get these marketing agreements in place, sales agreements in place, but it's a clearly defined process which we're going through now. And getting those several tons of material already in Japan has been a great step forward this week. We also have another large batch being processed at the moment in China, so we'll get several more tons from China as a backup. And just to be extra certain, we're having material tested in the USA and in Europe as well. So we're covering all bases with it, with this approach. But the good news is those several tons of the material, which will be a replication of what will be produced in the toll refining process. Those products will be going out to customers very soon, once it's been fully approved by our testing, and then we can move forward the marketing process as well.
Looking at the announcement that you had, I guess your sort of all-in sustaining cost is around 354. I mean, that's not low in any sort of mining sort of projects I've been involved. I guess in yours it's a very a different situation. Is that comparatively to your peers? Is that low? Is that in that kind of space? Is that what you would expect?
For a premium grade material, it's at the first stage, it is slightly on the high side, because what we have built in there is the toll refining cost, and extra handling that includes extra handling and the overseas element of that. So it's double handling and toll refining. So that's built into that. So it is on slightly high side. That's why as soon as we move to our on-site ourselves, our wet processing, then the economics change dramatically, and our margin increases proportionally to that. The good news for us is that it is on the high side as well, because we are aiming to produce this premium grade. And the goal is there to get this grade that gets the biggest margin. But also as an alternative option there, once we have the wet process plant operating, it is possible that plant could produce a lower grade material. We call so the premium grade we're calling halloysite 90, because it's 90% of the particles are less than 2 microns. So extremely fine, and it's also high purity and high brightness. Now, at the process plant that we're looking at, we're planning to have on site, that could produce a halloysite 70 type, which is about 70% less than 2 microns. Now, that won't get as much money in the market, but when you remove the extra handling cost and the extra toll refining cost, then the margin of that product could be very attractive. So we're also looking at that option in the DFS. In that case, the all-in sustaining cost will be reduced as well, and that will come down. That will come down in line with those removed costs, and we have to work out what the margin is for that material. The other option with that material is, of course, that could have markets elsewhere, and we're looking at other options for that, even markets in Australia. So it means that we could have potentially a market for that material in Australia, so produced in Australia and sold into Australia and maybe New Zealand. So there's a whole lot of new options, and quite exciting options going forward through the DFS. So it's not just the fact that we've got that step going to the wet process plant and then toll refining and then going around the whole world with sales, but we could also look at making that medium grade material PW70 and selling that domestically and overseas as well. There's already expressions of interest for about 100,000 tons of that PW70 material from overseas, just based on what we know at this stage. So some interesting options there, and those costs that we see there are probably the worst case situation, worst case scenario, and they will, as we go forward, they will improve.
Yeah, I remember the last time we spoke, you did say that your estimates were very conservative and you had a lot of fat in your margins. One of the thoughts I had when I saw that your margin was 50%, I was gathering that it should, with economies of scale, like every other business, I guess, is you'll be able to streamline that and your margin should theoretically sort of increase. Is that a fair comment? Is that what you're trying to say just then?
Yeah, so we've tried to take the conservative approach at all stages because it's far better to do that and overperform than try and paint a picture that's not quite right. So what we've done at every stage, we've been extremely thorough and professional at every stage. We looked at every single option, and we factored in all the costs that we're absolutely certain that we'll need to produce the best premium grade product. Now we've, and by doing that, we've used, as I said before, I think the Rolls-Royce example of equipment, plant, process, etc. So, and also don't forget, there's also a 20% contingency built into those numbers as well.
Yeah.
So we've got conservative approach plus 20% contingency. So when you look at all the factors there, it's all going to move in the right direction. And we're confident those numbers will improve as we go forward. And the good news for us is that by taking that conservative approach, we've already got a very big margin there. And if you look at the sensitivity analysis, even if we're 30% out on some of those numbers, even on the sales numbers, we're still going to make very good profit, even with this very conservative approach. So that's the way we like to move forward here, and we'll do the same things. But as we move forward to the DFS, of course, that the level of certainty increases. So we're down to about a 5-10% certainty. So we'll have thrashed out a lot more of those details, and I fully expect that a lot of those numbers will come in move in the right direction.
In terms of timeline, going forward, obviously PFS done, DFS to come. So in a layman's sort of description, when do we see first cash flow, that kind of questions?
Yeah, good question there, and I think this is what's caused some probably negative sentiment in the market at the moment on the release of the PFS. As I mentioned before, we've added in an extra 3 to 6 months on our timeline just to be extra safe. But the plan is to be in operation by end of next year. Now, whether we're selling that material by end of next year or early 2022 or around that period remains to be seen. Now, the pandemic has caused some uncertainty around that, but we're saying at the moment we're looking at maybe early-ish 2022 to get those sales and get some revenue coming in.
Yeah, I think in a lot of cases, I mean, I've mentioned this in many of the conversations I've had over the last couple of months, is that the big advantage for you guys would be the fact that you're an Australian, you know, by all means, we look like we're able to function normally soonish, and sort of allows, you know, money to be made, I guess, in some ways. Do you feel that comfort at the moment?
Yeah, we're certainly in the right place here. We're very lucky to be where we are with what's going on in the world. And also in terms of our project, we're quite lucky with our timing. You know, if we had started production now and we were just starting to sell material now and this happened, then that would be a disaster. So we're very lucky that the timing for our project looks like it's going to be well suited for the global rebound from the problems. There'll be all sorts of stimulus packages around the world going on to try and keep things going again. So we know that our material is already in short supply. So when the world economy picks up again and manufacturing is going again, then our timing looks very good for that. And also we've got the other factor there. We've got the halloysite factor that we haven't talked about much. And the halloysite is something that we are also pursuing as a sort of medium-term goal. And recently we've done a lot more drilling around other potential resources there. We've got a resource called Kondarinji. Looks like it's got some high purity halloysite in. That one will be being progressed through to a resource as soon as we possibly can. And once that's got to a resource, then we can look at a project on that area and how we potentially use that high purity halloysite. And the reason I mention that is because that's got tremendous applications in new technologies around the world. And these two new technologies are areas that we'll be looking at to be expanded, I think, as the world comes out of the crisis. So things like the energy storage, water purification, carbon capture, hydrogen storage. So all those areas that we're working on now are in just the right space for the way the economy is going to change in the world. So we've got Kondarinji that we're doing that work on, and we've also got Mount Hope, which is another prospect of ours, which is a historic resource of 12 million tons. We've recently drilled that, and we're just waiting for results to come back on that. That one is 100% owned by Andromeda, and that looks like it's also a very nice high quality halloysite-kaolin material. So I think what people do like about our story is that we've got this short-term, and when you're talking about mining projects, it is a short-term, short timeline into making money. We've got the medium-term opportunity of the halloysite, high purity halloysite, and the nanotube technology. And also we've got the potential that we are still looking at quite closely, and there's activity there going on behind the scenes on what we do with high purity alumina. We know we've got what looks like the best feed material for that process. It's given tremendous results so far. So we're just looking for the right opportunity and weighing up some options at the moment on how we progress that. It's a bit of a longer term option. So we've got short timelines, and we've got this short, medium and long term opportunities. And even the short term opportunity looks like it's going to be a great money spinner. If we get the pure halloysite coming through, then that takes a quantum leap upwards again. And we are still getting requests, and in fact even had more requests this week for those samples from around the world in different applications, and quite exciting new applications, like for medical applications, for example, where it's even being tested now in antiviral face masks, which is very topical.
Look, I've looked at your PFS. I think I don't think. I mean, like you said, it's sort of put a stamp on the first part of being sure where this is going to go in future into production wise. I mean, look, your estimate of your capex, I think, hasn't really moved much from our first conversation. You mentioned, I think it was in that space that you mentioned in your announcement there, and also the upside of, like you just pointed out, halloysite. I think, look, the world's not going to stop spinning, so your upside is going to be good. I do think that a lot of potential will come of this, and in time to come, the sort of potentially, we spoke about the high purity alumina market, and I think in our first conversation you said, oh look, that might be on the far off, but I think that's been sort of expedite further forward because of potentially future pandemics or whatever you want to call it. I think the simple fact is that you're mining simple and your market's there, and you're not asking for a lot of capex to get this happening. I think that's a strong positive in my opinion.
Right, yeah, we don't need a lot of money to get it going. I think what a lot of people are waiting to see is how the marketing side progresses, and it's one of these things that the Australian investment market really doesn't understand the industrial minerals business very well, just due to the fact that it's never been a great success in Australia until now, hopefully. So that the marketing process is not the same as with a precious metal. It's not a case of getting a concentrate like a copper concentrate and then signing up a binding offtake for the whole lot, and that's it, the job's done. In our case, we have to get a customer lined up, and that customer's got his own specific requirements to make his end application product. They have to test the material, which they've done so far. They've tested it at a pilot scale, but then they have to test it at the commercial scale, which is the next stage we're going through right now. And then once they've done that, their end customers downstream have to sign it off as well. And once they're happy with it, then we come back to the table and then we talk about binding offtake agreements of some sort. So it's a clearly defined process. It's well accepted in the industrial minerals industry, but it's not what people are used to here. But we're going through that stage by stage in exactly the right way. And so that will come. And by the time we get to the DFS, then we should be locked into the marketing side very nicely. And that's with the PW90 type and maybe even with the PW70 type as well. You know, who knows, if the high purity halloysite is looking good, then we might progress something there as well.
Okay. Like a company like yours now walking into this production stage, you fall into the boring part for a punter, I guess. What would you say to these guys? What's the future for Andromeda? I know you've sort of upscale or increase your technical team. You mentioned briefly about what you're doing. So what is the upside for these guys?
Well, at the moment, just got to remember that our PFS is based just on the Carey as well resource, that one project, which is the halloysite-kaolin. So our market valuation as we stand at the moment for the company is really just based on that one project. But that's only a very small part of the existing picture now. We already have two nice gold joint ventures in the background and a copper joint venture, which are progressing nicely. We've got some more gold tenements in the Pilbara, so that part of the company is not even included in our valuation at the moment. And also, as I mentioned just before, we've got two, maybe three other major potential resources there to be measured and announced coming as we move forward this year. Those will be at least halloysite-kaolin resources and possibly even high purity halloysite resources. So those are coming through the pipeline. And then, so that will expand the whole potential of the company dramatically. And if you're looking at the value of products in the market, then the market value of halloysite as a pure material is extremely high, much higher than what we have now in our PFS. So there could be a serious upside from any pure halloysite work. And new markets we're looking at the moment, there could be markets that are being tested and results are looking good so far for intermediate products. So products that at the moment Carey as well is sitting at about 20% halloysite in our resource. Carey as well, that's the Carey as well resource. The Condorinji is looking maybe double that in areas or maybe even higher. And that material as a 40%, for example, halloysite, it could fit into a bracket, an application bracket that's somewhere in between the $700 for the halloysite-kaolin per ton approximately and the 3,000 or 5,000 Australian dollars per ton of pure halloysite. There's like a sliding scale in between, and we're looking at applications there that will use that material. And that includes our research work that's going on at the moment with the University of Newcastle, where we have some very exciting projects in process at the moment. It's been going already for a couple of years, but it's proceeding very well there. We've applied for a large amount of grant funding from the government. We will find out about this month in June, so we've been told we'll get a verdict in June on that. So if that comes through, we're successful there, then that could then accelerate that halloysite. So the nanotube technology could be accelerated dramatically over the course of the next few months. And then that could become a much shorter term prospect. So all these things coming through, I think that's going to add tremendous value to the company. When you think where we stand at the moment, the only valuation is based on that one PFS, where we've got so many more opportunities there. Plus, another area we're looking at the moment is also becoming more of a diversified industrial minerals producer, because we've got the experience in the market already of a lot of different types of industrial minerals, and those minerals are available in Australia, although they're not actually probably commercialized yet. Now, these are complementary materials to what we're doing in a lot of cases, so we're also looking at that. So we've got that also coming through in the pipeline. So a lot of exciting things coming for Andromeda. And as it stands at the moment, the Putra project is only the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I think you've just got too many things on. I think, but look, it's a step in the right direction, I guess. You can't win them all, mate. It's the way it is. But look, James, look, final word to you. What would you say to punters out there, you know, to close off? What would you say to them for the path forward for Andromeda?
Well, I would say that for me personally, I've invested everything in Andromeda, so I've got complete belief in it, and I'm confident that we'll take it through to a tremendous success. And we're only at the early stages now, so I would say that just be a little bit patient. Our timelines are short. I know they're not short enough for some people, but they are short in the scheme of things. And if you're patient and hold on, then you can enjoy this ride with us and, you know, move towards this time next year. I think we'll be in a very, very different situation, and the true potential of Andromeda will be coming through, you know, in only another 12 months.
Okay. All right, James. Again, always great to have a chat. Keep safe until the next time we speak.
Thanks, Noel. Look forward to it. Yeah. Until next time. Maybe in the same room.
Yeah, hopefully. Then bye-bye.
Cheers, and bye.